Pakistan, the dhol is used to make public announcements after gathering people by beating it repeatedly.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen, ishbata.
Bakhair agale, ni hao, churushumbe, washmale, ohai gozaimasu, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shumachatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, balli kare aaya. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning, alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very superb, the very talented, the very exuberant, the very rejoiced, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Ms. Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Ehsan Khan. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today? Good morning.
Thank you so much. I'm doing absolutely great, and I'm doing just exactly like you said. Wow. Well, what about you?
Well, I think I feel great as well, but there's this one thing only which I don't feel very great about, and that is that yesterday, since I was doing the show alone, so I had a little more space to open my arms.
Sorry.
As well. So it's perfectly all right. I hope that you're doing wonderfully well and that you're feeling well as well. Absolutely. And you know, for all our audiences who are out there, that she was actually feeling a little under the weather, and that's how responsible everybody needs to be. So she texted the entire team that, you know, I actually have to get my COVID test done. And then, alhamdulillah, you know, she turned out to be negative as well, and she's back on the show as well. So welcome back.
Thank God.
How was the feeling, you know, knowing that God forbid it can be COVID?
Well, well, I don't want to jinx it, but here's the thing. I felt like, of course, this wasn't COVID, but just to be sure, because I also had a trip to Galiat as well, and just to be sure, well, to make you guys safe as well, because we have to meet every other day. It's a teamwork, of course, and we cannot ignore seeing each other. So just wanted to be sure of that. But thank you so much for covering.
Thank you.
Of course, like I said, it's a teamwork.
Likewise.
So, well, before we do move on to anything, Shahzad, of course, we need to talk about this wave of COVID and how absolutely dangerous this is. I know it's been more than a year since you have been hearing Shahzad and myself saying these things about how to stay safe, how to well maintain your distance, and how to follow the SOPs. But you guys, don't you feel like it is absolutely so important right now? Because it's probably well, I don't even want to call it the third time, because I think secretly it's the fourth or fifth time that we're entering into this thing again. But experts and, you know, microbiologists say that the strain this time, it's even affecting kids. Exactly. Last time we were sort of safe in the, I mean, we didn't have the fear that our kids or our toddlers or our babies, for that matter, would be infected. But it is not the same this time around. Exactly. So please be safe. An issue that I have, Shahzad. So we received some notifications of XYZ areas in the Twin Cities being sealed. Explain to me what sealed is. Now, this is where I want to talk about how it's not just the government's responsibility to make sure to follow the SOPs, because, well, they did give out the notification for everything to be sealed.
Exactly.
But the people in those XYZ areas are still doing everything that they were before the place was sealed. So I don't understand how this is going to be.
Exactly. Okay, so Shiza, we actually have to understand that, you know, Pakistan's economy is not at a level where we can actually, you know,
shut
kind of
everything,
implement lockdown, probably. And it's just because of the fact that, you know, for all of those people who are daily wages, for all of those people who really do not have a lot to earn, ladies and gentlemen, will obviously suffer the most as well.
Yeah.
And not that, you know, people like us don't suffer, you know, even if we do not come on to the show as well, we do not get paid for it. Alhamdulillah, that's how things are. So we really want things to, you know, kind of work in any direction. We do not want to be at a halt as well. So, you know, when we come down to talking about seal, it's like, you know, a smart lockdown. And I think that this strategy is wonderfully well, because it has worked out in the past, and inshallah it will work out this time around as well. It's not the government this time, it's the people themselves who are actually their own enemies. And that's something which I want people to understand. You know, everybody wants to go to weddings. Imagine, just yesterday I got like 4 different people calling me and asking me, hey, you know what, do you know anybody who's going to lend their farmhouse for our son's wedding, for our daughter's wedding?
Still.
And I was like, why would you want to go? Because just recently I went to a wedding where, alhamdulillah, since, you know, I should actually be thankful to Allah Almighty that Allah has actually protected me, that I was the only one who didn't get COVID. Other than that, everybody I knew in the family got COVID as well. And what's the point of going to a wedding where, God forbid, you're going to come back, fall ill, and then die, and not being able to see your grandchildren? I mean, there's no point. I think everybody over here in Pakistan needs to understand that it's not the government's 100% job to kind of make sure that you follow all your SOPs. You should be a responsible citizen. When are we going to come in terms with being responsible, ladies and gentlemen? Please make sure that you do that. I'm seeing people every single day who are actually getting positivity out of this COVID thing as well, and that's the last positive we want in our life. Please make sure that you don't do that. All my friends, all my family members are suffering from COVID as of now, and it's really hard seeing your parents sick, or God forbid, and at this age, you come across so many other insecurities as well. You want your parents to be around you. God forbid if something goes wrong, it's just that stupid wedding made you lose your father or mother.
God forbid,
please don't
God
do
forbid.
that. God forbid.
Of course, and well, you did sort of paint a very true picture of what is going on, Shahzad. But can I tell you some other things? So just a few weeks back, this was probably 2 weeks back, I was in the hospital with my sister. She had to go through something very serious. Alhamdulillah, she's better. Anyway, my point being, all the ventilators or the rooms in all major hospitals in the Twin Cities that I've personally experienced, they're occupied, Shahzad, and that was the time when the cases were not even as high as 4,000, that they are recently. Now here, I'm going to quote a conversation that I don't want to say overheard, but there were two doctors standing right next to me talking about, well...
That's cheeky.
No, but you have to listen to it. You have to
go
listen to it. So there's a couple, an aged couple, both of them on ventilators, and they're literally just discussing which one to, well, put off life support because they need the bed. And then they get a call from a very serious COVID patient who's on the way in the ambulance, and they're like, oh, the patient is coming, we have to, vacate a bed. And within 10 minutes, they get a call that the patient has expired, the COVID patient that was on their way. So they didn't have to vacate the bed, but how serious the matter is, Shahzad, you really have to understand. Imagine if your loved one had to go through it and you cannot find a place to admit them, a room, a ventilator for that matter, or even to get medicine. So please, please, please follow the SOPs. Sorry we have to paint such sort of a, well, scary or negative picture early in the morning, but this is the reality.
Yeah, that's how
absolutely.
it is. This is the harsh reality, so please make sure. And one more thing I'm going to add on to this as well, very quickly, that, that people, these days who are actually getting infected, they're saying that it's the UK strain. I mean, what I don't get is that, we're putting the certain areas under lockdown, but we're not actually putting a ban on international travelers.
In, yes.
People are coming in, people are going out, and, and is this what we're going to actually witness in the coming days as well? I think this is for the government to think about it as well.
But one thing that really sort of, sit with me, and I really like, there are some countries, of course, including China, where when the virus started, people definitely sort of, people from the older age, because initially those were the most vulnerable people, the senior citizens, right? So people registered with the government, of course, the government already had records of their ages and whatnot. And well, digitally, without even having to physically communicate, they had given all their records and they received ration, let me tell you, in terms of toothpaste or even tissue paper for that matter, everything at their doorsteps for 5 to 7 days a week, whenever they needed. Isn't this convenient? I mean, a digital country. I would really like to see a digital Pakistan, because that is how we're going to get prosperous, aren't we?
Exactly, and that's I was about to come down to as well, where, now you can actually order oxygen cylinders, oximeters, medicine, all. You can do it online, so you buy just a click, and, everything will be delivered at your doorstep. And, while, the pandemic was actually breaking out, to the entire world, ladies and gentlemen, this is one thing which, when I was in England at that time, and what we did was that, our house, we are actually surrounded by a lot of elderly people as well. So what we did was that we made a WhatsApp group, and, that for all of those elderly people who were actually more prone to getting virus, we would make sure that, we would add them into the group as well. And if they need anything, so, me or my sister or anybody else would go out, get some stuff and, put right in front of their doors as well. It's all because of digitalization, ladies and gentlemen, that we are actually able to help humanity. And I think that, Pakistan came out with its digital policy for the very first time in 2018. But now in 2021, there are a few changes. We would love to talk about that as well, how we are progressing, how we're going to see economic growth, how we're going to see growth within the information and technology industry. It's something we'll be talking about today, but after this small report, go ahead, take a look. Good morning.
Let's do it.
Ministry of IT and Telecom Pakistan is entrusted with the responsibility of forming policies, strategies and programs and projects for digital transformation in order to improve quality of citizens' life and economic prosperity in the country. In order to implement the Digital Pakistan vision of Prime Minister Imran Khan and achieve the digital transformation goals, Ministry of IT and Telecom is striving to bring an inclusive Digital Pakistan Policy 2021 which will realign and prioritize the digital transformation efforts for quick achievements of Digital Pakistan vision. Stakeholders from public and private sectors, academia and donor agencies from Islamabad, KP, Lahore and Karachi actively participated in the roundtables organized from 24 to 26th of March 2021 to give their valuable recommendations on key pillars of the policy including e-governance, ICT infrastructure, human rights development, innovation and entrepreneurship, fintech, e-commerce and digital platforms, IT, ITES development and exports.
All right, we believe that you've heard it all, ladies and gentlemen. We're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a member of IT as well, and he is representing Ministry of Information Technology and Telecom. He, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be Syed Junaid Imam Sahab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. Let's start by asking, what is Digital Pakistan?
Okay. Thank you for inviting me on this subject, which is, this subject has never been that important for Pakistan, that is right now, especially during this COVID period. Yeah. So Digital Pakistan is not for any sector or any segment of society. Digital Pakistan is for every citizen of Pakistan. Okay. The purpose of this Digital Pakistan is to empower the citizen and to bring prosperity into the country. Okay. And how empower the citizen? To provide them access. Accessibility is a key thing for citizen empowerment. Yes. So access to information, access to opportunities, inclusion in policy making, inclusion in the strategic direction of the country. So that's the overall vision. And how to bring the prosperity? We want to transform into a knowledge economy. Yeah. And okay. We are blessed with excellent human capital that we have in Pakistan. Right. And once we groom this capital to perform and do business based on their intellectual content, that's the highest value that you can get in any economic ecosystem. Absolutely. So we want to transform into a knowledge economy. So this Digital Pakistan vision is primarily to achieve these two goals.
And that is great, and I think you explained it quite well as well for the people who didn't know what Digital Pakistan is. But now let's take on to these things one by one. You spoke about inclusion, because when you talk about moving a country together forward, you definitely need to hear all the voices from all the corners. So lately there have been some conferences going on as well. Let us know about the inclusion, what areas you went to, and what type of stakeholders did you engage?
And so there's a reason why we're actually posing you this question, and that is that, God forbid, you know, if you're actually, even in Islamabad, which is the capital of Pakistan as well, you know, when you go around different places and different buildings, we see that, you know, that there are no ramps, you know, there are no lifts, or probably if there are lifts, you know, people, for example, the blind cannot operate it, or, you know, people. So we haven't been really a very inclusive society over the years. Now we are obviously getting that exposure, and we're trying to do so. So let's talk about that inclusion.
Okay, so let's first address Shiza's question. We are talking about Digital Pakistan, so we also have to operate and work in more in a digital fashion as well. Okay. So what we have been doing, we are not just doing these collaborations with physical movement. Though we had 2 sessions, one in Lahore and Karachi, we'll be having in Islamabad and maybe in a couple of cities as well. But we are also collaborating and getting feedback virtually as well. We first used our website and other digital platforms to get feedback from different stakeholders from our diaspora. I think we have to learn a lot from our diaspora. Yeah, true. If you look at the global canvas, Pakistanis are performing excellently in tech industries globally. So I think for Pakistan, once we get their feedback, we believe that our policy would be futuristic and we would be addressing the challenges, and we would learn from the experiences that other nations have already have. So probably we will jump few steps that they learned through experience, but we will learn from them. So that's the one aspect that you were mentioning, and the other inclusion. I think with technology, many shortcomings or the handicap there with people with disability, I think we can address this with technology. We now are making our websites, government websites, accessible. I think that's the first step. The citizens should have access to information, access to his rights. I think that's one gap that we have to fill. So the first thing is we have to mail all information, government information, accessible to people with disability. Then we have to support innovation. We have to support startups who are working in this field. We have funded projects which serve this cause. We have one project who have made robotic arm for people.
We've met with them.
You met with them.
Yes.
So it's a win-win situation for the society.
Definitely.
On one hand, people with disability getting what they did not have, and on the other hand, our startups and businesses have opportunities for growth and opportunities for business.
And so this is truly 100% what we actually require as well, in terms of moving ahead as well, or jumping those steps as well. But now coming down to, two things which I would want to know over here, because, since you were mentioning that this is for the very first time that we are actually talking about it, which is very true as well. I don't think anybody spoke about it. So first things first, since we have this opportunity today, let's talk about what does the Digital Policy 2021 entail, and how can people take advantage of it, number one. Number two, now with digitalization, don't you think that, that even the government institution will have to go through a vigorous training as well? Because, we people, we've been using these handsets forever, but we might have people within the government institutions who really do not know how to use these handsets. And so we will probably click on whatever we require, but they might not know what to do with that kind of a command. So what are we doing in those terms as well? So first, what's the digital policy entails, and then what are we doing about trainings?
Very pertinent questions. As far as this digital policy is concerned, the two objectives that I mentioned to you earlier, we segmented it into multiple pillars. How to achieve those objectives? So our first pillar is ICT infrastructure. So if you don't have the connectivity, it's not possible to digitally transform. We are a 220 million plus population. If you look at our current broadband penetration, it's less than 50%. So we have a long way to go. So that's one important aspect that we are focusing. Then cloud infrastructure and other services where you go into the digital world and use those services. So that's one fundamental pillar that we have. The second pillar is HRD, human resource development. If we want to go into transform into a knowledge economy, we need to have skilled human resource. That's the basic ingredient of a knowledge economy. So the second pillar is that in which government, private institutions, academia, industry have to work together to build this knowledge capital. So that's the second pillar. Third pillar is e-governance. Here comes your question. You're absolutely right that we have probably focused more on digital infrastructure, softwares, technical training. But one key thing that probably we lack, and that's what we want to cover in this policy, is process reengineering. The digital transformation starts from the people. It's the platforms and the processes, they are part of the overall transformation. But if we don't re-engineer our processes, then we'll be probably inefficient in using this digital transformation. And here comes your question, that the government institutions and government servants have to re-engineer, have to adopt new processes.
Unlearn and relearn.
So that you can best use the ICT infrastructure and the automation and the intelligence that is coming in to your. I will give just one example.
Yes, please.
Pakistan has generally performed good in managing this pandemic. and NCAOC has played a fundamental role in it. And one of the key factor of this success is use of digital technologies and data analytics, making an informed decision. So data was extensively used for decision making, and you can see the output. So the government can perform excellently well once you use digital technologies.
Wonderful.
And that is absolutely brilliant. But again, sorry, taking you back to where you said that in the first lap of, let's say, the conference is going on, you were in conversation with the Pakistani diaspora. Yes, that makes sense. But we cannot forget the fact that hardly, Shahzad, 30-ish% of the population is urbanized. A lot of Pakistani population lives in...
I think even 30% is too much.
Around.
It needs to come down.
Yeah, but a major chunk of the population lives in rural areas. Now, you already spoke about the accessibility. Yes, that is one matter. But let's talk about, when we talk about the economic growth of the country, we are lucky that we are in agrarian society, so we have an edge. If we have an edge, we can definitely build up on that. Now, that is the issue we need to discuss.
Where is the edge?
The edge is being an agrarian society and having the yield. That is amazing. But, sir, I think we discussed this before. You are giving the phone to a farmer. You will probably put an app which will help them, well, make their yield go to the market or even have a better yield. But they have to understand that now there comes the training point of Shahzad, where he said you have to train the government officials. It's not just that. You have to probably train millions of people who don't know how to use a phone for good well, informative stuff.
To learn. That's the problem.
Yeah, how are you going to go about that?
I think one very fundamental thing that we will bring into this policy, and government realizes that everything government on its own cannot do.
Yeah, that's true.
It has to be a public-private partnership.
Okay.
So that's the strategy that we are following. And you mentioned farmer.
Yeah.
One of our startup have over 4 million farmers on their digital platform.
Okay.
And they provide certain services to those platforms. So this change has already started taking place, where our tech and young startups, they are moving into this space. You know, we have to realize one thing, that okay, we lag behind as far as digital transformation is concerned, but at the same time, because we are lagging behind, there are so many low-hanging fruits that if we do small things right, we can really make a difference. And agriculture is one aspect where tech interventions can fundamentally change the whole agri ecosystem. Our farmers are deprived. You mentioned the yield. We are among the lowest yield in the world. And then on top of it, it's just not agriculture. If you look at other socio-economic development sectors, health. You mentioned more than probably 70% of population in rural areas, deprived, don't have access to health facilities.
Exactly.
But now you look at the situation. We have urban areas where we have hospitals, we have doctors, we have other infrastructure. And rural area where there is population, they need the service, and now we have the connectivity.
Right.
Exactly.
So by using this technology, telehealth and other health technologies, we can provide services to these rural area population from the cities.
So we have built the bridge, now we just need to learn how to use it.
Yes, we have to
That
build
is-
the application services, and again, it's not just the government that has to do it.
Definitely, definitely.
We understand we have to make certain policies, we have to facilitate the private sector so that they can use this infrastructure to provide these services.
Exactly.
That is
And sir,
brilliant.
with such digital enhancement, I believe that, you know, I think that this difference of urban and rural will actually head out as well. You
I
know,
hope
I
so.
don't
I
think
hope
That's
so.
one of the biggest challenge, because we have to look into it. Because digital divide, if we don't bridge this, then this quality of life with this digital transformation,
vary.
quality of life of citizens in the urban area will continue to improve, while the rural area will remain the same. So we have to look at this connectivity and inclusiveness so that we bridge this digital divide as well.
And I absolutely love this factor, because, you know, while it is so, well, it might seem small to talk about, but Shahzad, when you're looking at this connectivity, you are reducing the social contract to a major level. So, for example, you said e-governance.
Yeah.
Living in the city, maybe you might have a reference or a way to, well, make your voice be heard, right?
Yeah.
But living in the rural area now, you have accessibility. You can actually make your voice be heard, first of all. Social contract contract means, then you feel like there's a lesser distance between you and the government. Thus, that is what diminishing any sort of civil unrest within the country.
Exactly.
Or feeling left out. You know, there are certain segments of the society which feel like, oh, we are not even attended to. That will definitely diminish that. And the best part is, well, unfortunately, in the, let's say, in the science of the world or in the philosophy of the world, there is a center and there is a periphery. And because of how we were lacking in terms of technology, unfortunately, Pakistan used to be the periphery of the world. We are definitely improving. But within the periphery, there's a center and periphery. The rural is now the periphery, which you're trying to sort of dilute in, right? So there won't be a major difference between both the circles.
I'll give another interesting
Please
example.
do, please.
We have a DG Skills program where we provide basic digital skills to our citizens so that they can earn on their own, they can do freelancing globally.
Nice.
We have imparted over 1.7 million trainings. And you'll be surprised to know the best performer of this digital program is from the rural areas.
Yeah.
We have people with disability earning thousands of dollars per month after utilizing these training modules. So the potential is immense. The talent is immense. We just have to channelize. We have to just groom them a bit, and the world is out there for them.
Absolutely.
Exactly, that's absolutely true and correct as well. But sir, one last thing, and I'm glad that you've actually mentioned about it. And we even talked about it yesterday as well, ladies and gentlemen, that incubation centers are opening up, and I think it's going to be a great avenue for any startup, which is brilliant. And the best part is that MOITT, ladies and gentlemen, has actually had a very crucial role to play within all of this as well. But one last thing, since you said that, you know, a lot of people in the rural areas are actually thousands of dollars as well. But the only problem is that we really do not have any platforms such as PayPal or, you know, all of those other platforms which are out there as well. So with Digital Pakistan Policy 2021, are we looking forward to having such a platform over here where our transactions are smooth? You know, we do not have to wait for months and months.
Yes.
This digital platforms and payment gateways are fundamental. We are working on this, and these private platforms, they have their own business case, they have their own criteria for moving into different countries, but soon you will see payment gateways in Pakistan as well. And this will, if you look at just one example, a woman in a small town or a rural area who has some expertise of maybe knitting or anything, and now she has a potential customer sitting in Europe and US. So if we can ensure this, so the fundamental customer base of any small businessman or any citizen of Pakistan broadens up.
Sir, and one small thing, I'm not correcting you, but it's not these you know, gateways who actually have their requirements, but I think particularly in Pakistan's case, it's the State Bank of Pakistan which actually have a lot of, you know, requirements to fulfill. So, you know, we probably need to work together to make sure that everybody can earn their money conveniently.
Conveniently, that's a fundamental thing. Now, once they make a business case, the regulations and the overall environment comes into play. So definitely they look into it. But you will see the Pakistan over 220 million population, and we are digitally transforming. So people are looking at the business case now. So it's becoming more and more vibrant and more viable for them. So all the international players, we have been talking to different international providers of infrastructure. People are showing, companies are showing interest into Pakistan because they know the opportunity that is there out there.
Absolutely,
Wonderful.
And it's a wonderful time for Pakistan. It's a wonderful time to have businesses in Pakistan as well. Thank you so much, Junaid sir, for being here and being so informative as well. Just one thing before we head out to a small break. It's sort of a good news because you said, Shahzad, we're sort of lacking up on PayPal and similar well, things to have access to. So there's a Pakistani youth, a guy who we will try to have on the show as well. I'm saying this because on this 23rd of March, he was recognized as one of the pride of Pakistan, the youngsters, because he is bringing a Pakistani PayPal app, which will have all the similar features, and now Pakistan will be on the same page as the other world as well.
Wow, that's
which
wonderful.
is amazing. It's a good news, well, but there is a bad news in Pakistan that did recently happen. But you have to hold on for that. After this very short break, we will be revealing it. You already know, but let's talk
I'm
about
sad about it.
I'm sad as well. Stay tuned. Good morning. We'll be back.
Sarangi is a bowed, short-necked string instrument from subcontinent, which is used in Pakistani classical music. Its flexible tunability and its ability to produce a large palette of tonal color and emotional nuance makes it unique. Carved from a single block of wood, the sarangi has a box-like shape with 3 hollow chambers called stomach, chest and brain. It's usually around 2
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PTV World. You're watching World this morning alongside the very stunning, the very handsome Shahzad Khan and Shiza Hafi. But before we headed out towards a small break, ladies and gentlemen, we were actually in conversation with Junaid Saab, who were actually telling us, in fact, making us more aware about the digital policy which is going to be in place in 2021.
And I'm so excited about it.
It was in place in 2018, and that's what we're looking forward to, and that's what we're targeting at as well.
But we were sad when we moved out of the show.
Yeah, we were sad. We were sad. I'm still sad as well, and it's just because of the fact that I just don't get it. You know, you name the band. For example, go back in time. You know, it was Junoon. As soon as they were at their peak, they broke up. You know, then. Now, even though that they've joined hands back together as well, but I don't think that anybody's interested in listening to them as a band. I think Ali Asmed, on the other hand, has actually got an edge as well, because, you know, I think people enjoy the vocals. Usually people can actually cover up the instruments as well. Not just that, I think moving down to call band as well. Talking about Haroon
Jal for that matter.
Jal for that matter. Haroon and Fakhir for that matter as well.
Yeah.
And now I think that this, ladies and gentlemen, was I think it was very upsetting for me to see Strings moving apart as well, because, you know, they were together for 33 long years, going back in 1988 probably. Ladies and gentlemen, that's when Strings was actually formed. You know, Faisal Kabadia and Bilal, you know, they were universities fellows, and they gave us so many good memories. Not just that, they represented Pakistan in Hollywood, they represented Pakistan in Bollywood for that matter as well. And they were always the sort that they never actually sang any cover on stage.
And they
would always sing their own songs. They would always make sure that they're going to put up a performance which was as nicely put as U2 probably internationally as well. And, you know, they would go tour the world. And the best part was that for all of those band members, they were always equal. It wasn't the vocalist always, you know, may it be Nehan, you know, their drummer, may it be their guitarist. Everybody did a fabulous job. I still am not able to figure out, even though I've asked a lot of my singer friends that, you know, what happened. But I think that, you know, they actually were like, okay, you know what, we've actually done quite a lot.
But of course, it's a sad, sad moment for Pakistan. Well, it happened a few days ago, but today we did find the time to talk about it. It's a small package of how Strings, well, sort of broke up and how Pakistanis are feeling about it. Let's take a look at it. When we come back, we will ask some musicians how they feel about it, right? Yeah, let's do it.
All good things come to an end, and so has Strings' journey. The popular Pakistani pop rock band Strings, that was formed by Bilal Maqsood and Faisal Kapadia, has finally bid adieu after a remarkable journey spanning over 3 decades. This, of course, left fans worldwide extremely emotional and heartbroken. Strings started off as a 4-member boy band back in 1988, when the concept of boy bands was foreign to the subcontinent. The original band included Bilal Maqsood, Faisal Kapadia, Rafiq Wazir Ali, and Kareem Bashir Bhoy.
मिल गया वो जो चुरा के मेरी आंखों से निंदिया ले गया था.
After the phenomenal success of Dur, Strings released their fourth album, Dhani. One of the singles from it, Na Jaane Kyun, was later featured as a soundtrack for the sequel of Hollywood's Spider-Man in 2004. With that, Strings became the first Pakistani band to ever sing for Hollywood. Following this, in 2005, String went on to win its first international award, MTV Asia's Favorite Artist India. Pakistani pop music was at its peak during the 90s. Bands and singers such as Vital Signs, Strings, Ali Haider, Shehzad Roy, and many others played a crucial role in taking the music industry to an all-time high. With the passage of time, many bands were formed which later died down due to various reasons. Nevertheless, they left anthems for the people of their times that are still appreciated today.
Well, it was...
Ale, 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 oh.
Oh my God, it was so nostalgic and sad at the same time. But ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, we have two of our favorite musicians over here in the studio. We'll definitely listen to them, but also ask them about how they feel about Strings breaking up.
Exactly.
Without further ado, let's be introducing them.
Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, but Manu, yes, it was a wonderful
Oh,
report.
of
You did a
course,
great
of
job
course.
today as well. But without any further ado, people who actually feel sad, just like the way we do about Strings breaking up, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by one of the most amazing singers we have recently found or gotten our hands on to, Mr. Umar Nazir. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we've actually been joined by Mr. Saval Bhatti. Bhatti Saab, how are you? Good morning.
Very good morning. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Absolutely perfect.
Absolutely
Thank you very
fine.
much for joining us. So we're
Thank you very
definitely
much.
short on
It's an honor
time.
to be here.
Wonderful. We just want you to please make sure that, do you feel sad about Strings?
Yes.
I think we all do.
Actually, I was jamming when I heard the news about Strings.
Yeah.
Suddenly we got stopped and started thinking what just happened.
Right? And it was so sudden, just a status came out and everyone was like, why did this even happen? I know, it was really sad. But Umar,
Exactly.
I want you to sort of, well, blow away our blues by your song. Please, let's do it. And I think it's only a matter of time when Umar gets so famous that he'll forget about our show because
Yeah,
his
he's already
vocals
very
are, mashallah,
famous,
so
alhamdulillah.
nice.
He sings really well as
Yes,
well.
yes.
Let's sing along. Bhatti Saab, you know, everybody's going to sing along.
Yeah,
Let's do
I'll
it
try
together.
not
Sir,
to
you
ruin
too.
it, but
Sir, you
let's-
too as well.
ये है मेरी कहानी खामोश जिंदगानी सन्नाटा कह रहा है क्यों जुल्म सह रहा है एक दास्तां पुरानी तन्हाई की जुबानी क्यों ज़ख्म खिल रहा है क्यों मुझसे कह रहा है चुभते कांटे यादों के दामन से चुनता हूँ गिरती दीवारों के आंचल में जिंदा हूँ अब ना कोई पास है फिर भी एहसास है स्याहियों में उलझी पड़ी जीने की एक आस है यादों का जंगल ये दिल कांटों से जलता ये दिल चुभते कांटे यादों के दामन से चुमता हूँ गिरती दीवारों के आंचल में जिंदा हूँ।
Wow.
क्या बात है,
Flawless.
wonderful, yeah.
Flawless, man. This
It
is
was
insane.
flawless, and you are an absolutely stunning. You put up a stunning performance, yeah, Umar.
As always, mashallah.
Yeah, as always, mashallah. sir. But now moving on to Saval as well. So, Bhatti Saab, since we're very short on time, first of all, we want to know how many good memories you have to cherish about strings, and then what are you going to present for all of our amazing audiences out there?
String band, it was very wonderful band, and since my childhood, I'm just listening them.
Yeah.
So now they have just break up. It is very sad moment.
I
I
know.
think breakups are a sad moment.
Yeah,
Just
Yes.
generally breakup जब भी होता है ना,
obviously
उदासी होती
it
है
is
थोड़ी सी.
for everyone. So this is just very sad moment. So I think they shouldn't have this done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe they had a
I think
better
they might
reason.
have their own reasons as well,
True.
but
Exactly.
you know, if I ever, that's a promise. If I ever come across Faisal Bhai or Bilal Bhai, I think I'm going to ask. This is going to be my first question as well.
Exactly.
Why did you do it?
Why did,
Why,
Why
did
did
you
you
do
do
this?
it?
This
why
is
did
the-
you hurt
exactly.
us so
आप लोग
bad?
क्यों निकल गए?
This is the
Yes.
major question.
Yeah.
But Saval, again, I think you should take this moment away and probably lighten our moods up with a beautiful
Exactly.
song.
I was just about to say this.
Yes,
So
please.
when Umar was singing, so I was just about to cry.
Aw.
So I think we should just come up from this.
Yeah,
Let's do this.
it.
So
Let's do this.
There
Come
is
on.
a song Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan sahab,
Oh.
Mast Nazron Se Allah Bachaye.
Oh, wow.
So here we go with that song.
We have some major NFAC fans here.
मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह बचाए, मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह बचाए, माँ जमालों से अल्लाह बचाए, मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह बचाए, माँ जमालों से अल्लाह बचाए, मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह बचाए, माँ जमालों से अल्लाह बचाए, मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह बचाए, माँ जमालों से अल्लाह बचाए, हर बला सर पे आ जाए लेकिन, हर बला सर पे आ जाए लेकिन, हुस्न वालों से अल्लाह बचाए, मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह बचाए, माँ जमालों से अल्लाह बचाए। इनकी फितरत में है बेवफाई, जानती है ये सारी खुदाई, इनकी फितरत में है बेवफाई, जानती है ये सारी खुदाई, अच्छे अच्छों को देते हैं धोखा, अच्छे अच्छों को देते हैं धोखा, बोले बालों से अल्लाह बचाए, मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह अल्लाह बचाए, मस्त नजरों से अल्लाह बचाए, माँ जमालों से अल्लाह बचाए।
And I absolutely loved how you maintained your vocals. It was amazing. But now, Saval and Umar, Shahzad and I are going to close the show. Meanwhile, you guys decide a song that you both know so that we can end the show with it, okay? Go on, talk.
Exactly, and not just that, I have to tell you one more thing as well, and that is that, you know, while you sing, there are a lot of people who make a lot of different faces, things like that. But you happen to be one of those, you know, both of you
Yes,
who actually
both of
look
you.
cute while they're singing as well. So I think that's a compliment. You guys have got amazing vocals and you have true potential of being strings yourself as well. and we hope and we pray that that you get there wherever you
Inshallah.
want to be in life as well. Alhamdulillah. We're sorry that we were not able to have a lot of conversation today, but it was all about making sure that we remember strings and put out your performance in front of our audiences. Thank you very much for being with us. Lovely to have you over here in the studios.
Thank you.
But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
World This Morning.
On Twitter.
World This Morning without a G.
on Daily Motion in YouTube,
World This Morning on the PTV World channel.
and the fabulous repeats going to be at
5 past midnight tonight.
the next time, ladies and gentlemen. Look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Take it away, boys.
मन में बसी लुमान की खुशबू इतर वितर सब भूला जात अकीदा राख हो गए इश्क का चल गया चूल्हा टोपी उतरी तस्बीह टूटी ढोल पे रक्स हुआ इश्क मेरा तावीज बन गया दिल पे नक्श हुआ मुझ पे लग गई तोहमत शोहमत मैं बदनाम हुआ गाना बजाना नचना नचाना मेरा काम हुआ गाना बजाना नचना नचाना मेरा काम हुआ कि फिर मैं मस्त हुआ बर्बाद हुआ इश्क दा कलमा याद हुआ मस्त हुआ बर्बाद हुआ इश्क दा कलमा याद हुआ सूट पे लग गया टाट का टुकड़ा बूट का तस्मा टूटा इश्क नहीं फनकार बनाया इश्क नहीं मुझे लूटा इश्क नहीं फनकार बनाया इश्क ने मुझको लूटा फिर मस्त हुआ बर्बाद हुआ इश्क दा कलमा याद हुआ मस्त हुआ
मीठो वाले टुर